Today we will talk about events at neuromuscular junction. So why it is known as neuromuscular junction? Because there is a synapse between a neuron and the sarcolemma of the skeletal muscle fiber. So neuromuscular junction. Now, this is the axon of a motor neuron. This one is the axon, and here is the axon terminal. Axon terminal has these green color. Those are voltage gated calcium channels. These round structures, these are synaptic vesicles, and they contain a neurotransmitter known as acetylcholine. So these blue tiny ball-like structures, that is neurotransmitter acetylcholine. This tiny space between the axon terminal and the sarcolemma of the muscle fiber, this space is known as synaptic cleft. And now this is the muscle fiber, and here the sarcolemma of the muscle fiber have foldings. These foldings are known as junctional folds, and they increase the surface area, so more acetylcholine receptors are located into these foldings. Now, the sarcolemma has these chemically gated channels, and so now we will start with this is the axon of the somatic motor neuron. An action potential. What is an action potential? It's a nerve impulse or an electrical signal. This action potential comes from the brain or the spinal cord through this axon of the motor neuron. As the action potential reaches at the axon terminal, these green color voltage gated calcium channels open, calcium enters into the axon terminal. So this is calcium. Calcium ions enter into the axon terminal. Entry of these calcium ions into the axon terminal cause the release of the neurotransmitter. So what happens? These synaptic vesicles fuse with the plasma membrane of the axon terminal and release this blue color, that is acetylcholine, and these synaptic vesicles release neurotransmitter acetylcholine by exocytosis. So see, the neurotransmitter acetylcholine is released into this tiny space known as synaptic cleft. The neurotransmitter acetylcholine diffuses across the synaptic cleft and it binds to the receptors on the sarcolemma. These are chemically gated ion channels, and they bind these blue color, those are the acetylcholine. They bind to chemically gated channels on sarcolemma. These chemically gated channels open and sodium diffuses into the muscle fiber through these chemical gated channels. Entry of sodium ions into the muscle fiber cause a local depolarization. See, the inside of the sarcolemma becomes more positive. That is local depolarization, or it is known as end plate potential. So this local depolarization or end plate potential generates an action potential in the sarcolemma, and that action potential will travel through the transverse tubule into the muscle fiber and will cause muscle contraction. So these were the events at neuromuscular junction. Now let us do some concept check questions. Synaptic vesicles in the axon terminal of motor neuron contain what type of neurotransmitter? Answer: synaptic vesicles in the axon terminal contain neurotransmitter acetylcholine. What ion diffuses in the axon terminal to stimulate the release of acetylcholine? Calcium ions diffuse through the voltage-gated calcium channels into the axon terminal to stimulate the release of neurotransmitter acetylcholine. What is the synapse between the muscle fiber and the axon terminal? The synapse is synaptic cleft. Now, one more question. What ion diffuses through the chemically gated channels of the junctional folds? These folds of sarcolemma are known as junctional folds. So what ion diffuses through the gated channels of junctional fold to generate local depolarization? Sodium ions actually enter through the chemically gated channels to generate a local depolarization, which is also known as end plate potential. In the next video, I will talk about how this action potential, which is generated into the sarcolemma of the muscle fiber, will cause muscle contraction. So these events at neuromuscular junction are occurring in our body 24 hours a day throughout our life. For example, we are breathing. Our diaphragm is contracting and relaxing. So those events are occurring at neuromuscular junction. We are walking, talking. All these events of neuromuscular junction are occurring during our walking, talking, writing, any activity which includes a skeletal muscle fiber has the events at neuromuscular junction. Now we will discuss the contraction in the next